Our guest speaker today will explore how this religion was meant to outlast the changing tides of human history. He will reveal how Islam was applicable in the past, can be applicable today, and for the future to come. Hamza Andreas Tzortzis is an international acclaimed public speaker, writer, and intellectual activist. He is a frequent commentator on political philosophy and focuses on the contemporary issues that challenge Muslims around the world. Tzortzis has debated countless academic figures in the areas of Islamic philosophy, current affairs, and Western thought. These include Rick Lewis, the editor of the Philosophy Now magazine, and the best-selling author Peter Kay. Tzortzis has appeared as an analyst for media outlets and various television networks around the globe, providing a unique perspective on Islamic issues in relation to current affairs. Please join me in welcoming our special guest coming all the way from across the Atlantic, from the UK, Brother Hamza Tzortzis.
I'm going to start as Muslims do in the name of God, so please bear with me. In Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. I greet you all with the Islamic greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the MSU here for that interesting introduction. I've never had an introduction like that before. And obviously for inviting me down all the way across the pond to deliver some words of maybe wisdom and advice about the Islamic worldview. Today's talk is about the timeless religion. Because generally, us living in the West, we believe that religion is contingent on time and historical circumstances. Many Christian theologians and philosophers, as an example, believe that much of the Old Testament is pegged on time and history. So it's not timeless, rather it's time-bound. The Islamic worldview is slightly different. It's slightly different because of theological, philosophical, and historical circumstances, which I hope I will be able to elucidate and deliver to you today in the best manner. Let me give you some introduction to the topic. I think everyone has heard of the highly acclaimed anti-theist, Christopher Hitchens. He's quite an interesting chap. He basically says that even if God did exist, I still would not believe in him, because it would be like living under North Korea, a dictatorship. So he defines himself as an anti-theist. In his best-selling book, God is Not Great, he writes the following words. As I write these words, and as you read them, people of faith are in the different ways planning your and my destruction, and the destruction of the all hard-won human attainments that I have touched upon. Religion, poisons, everything. Now, is this an accurate description of the reality of religion? Is this an accurate description of modern theological discourse? I would argue it's not. And the following statement coming from the Western commentator on religion, Lex Hickson, he actually, I think, paints the accurate position with regards to viewing Islam or religion in the 21st century. But he specifically talks about Islam. He says, interestingly, neither as Christians or Jews, nor simply as intellectually responsible individuals have members of Western civilization been sensitively educated or even accurately informed about Islam. Even some persons of goodwill who have gained acquaintance with Islam continue to interpret the reverence of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which means peace and blessings be upon him, and the global acceptance of his message as an explicable survival of the zeal of an ancient desert tribe. But he continues, this view ignores 14 centuries of Islamic civilization, burgeoning with artists, scholars, statesmen, philanthropists, scientists, chivalrous warriors, philosophers, as well as countless men and women of devotion and wisdom from almost every nation of the planet. And he ends, the coherent world civilization called Islam, founded in the vision of the Quran, cannot be regarded as the product of individual and national ambition supported by historical accident. Now, We have two opposing views here. We have the neo-atheist narrative, and we have, in my opinion, the more nuanced discussion about religious discourse with regards to Islam. And I hope that today's presentation is going to demystify some aspects of Islam, that it's not a religion contingent upon time, rather it's a religion that transcends time and deals with the problems of the 21st century. Now, my argument is going to be structured as follows. I'm going to use 5 arguments. The first argument is going to be sociological. The next argument is going to be philosophical in nature. The third will be moral, talking about morality. And the final 2, which will be interesting to political students or political science, it will be about economics and crime and society. However, before I start, I want to basically highlight something. We all believe, or many of us have basically adopted, which I call an outdated cliche view on religion. Religion poisons everything, it kills people, it's nasty, it's really bad, it's wrong. You want to go back to the time of the goat and the sandal. You guys are just backward and just, religion's a no-no. However, I would like to demystify this a bit. I would argue that many of the things attributed to religion may be true from a historical, social, political perspective. But I think we need to broaden our horizons here. I also believe that many of the things attributed to religion with regards to the evils or negative effects are actually not unique to religion itself. We have to be careful here. Religion isn't the common conceptual denominator. Humanity is. For example, the Regius Professor of Divinity at the University of Oxford, Keith Ward, he states, "It is very difficult to think of any organized human activity that could not be corrupted. The lesson is that anti-religious corruptions and religious corruptions are both possible. There is no magic system or belief, not even the belief in liberal democracy, which can be guaranteed to prevent it." And one of the outdated cliches, I think, is that religion causes conflict. This may be true. It may be a facilitating factor. It may provide the intellectual, emotional, and social oxygen to facilitate these contemporary issues. But I believe religion is not the common conceptual denominator. Let's take non-religious or irreligious ideologies that have facilitated these kind of conflicts. For example, we had 17 million people die under Chairman Mao, a non-religious philosophy. 20 million people under Stalin, which includes 6 million Christians killed under Stalin. 2 million people no longer exist because of Pol Pot. 700,000 innocent Iraqis in the contemporary invasion. And it continues. World War I and World War II, the Vietnam War, the mass murder of newborn baby girls in China. What about Hiroshima or Nagasaki? Or the ethnic cleansing of Tibetans, Palestinians, and Chechens. These are irreligious wars, driven solely behind ideology. So I want us to clarify and demystify and also transcend these outdated cliches so we have more of a nuanced discussion today. So my first argument is more of a sociological argument that really deals with religion in general. So Islam being a religion is timeless because from a sociological perspective it has shown positive effects in the 21st century. And these include someone who's religious, who has a form of religiosity, is more likely to have better mental health, better physical health, lower levels of criminality, higher levels of happiness, and higher levels of altruism and philanthropic activity. Now what does this really mean? It doesn't mean just because you're religious you're going to be a nice guy. No, that's not the case at all. What I want to cite to you today is objective evidence, transcending our personal human subjective experience, to actually show on the en masse level, on the sociological level, in the past 15 years there's been sociological studies to show that religion has a positive effect on your life, in contrast to people who have an irreligious or non-religious life. There's a positive correlation from a statistical perspective. Take the first example. In 2001, Schnittke, in the Journal for the Scientific Study of Religion, he examined a data set of approximately 3,000 adults from the general population, and he found that religious involvement had no significant relation with depression, but he also found that religiousness was a buffer against mental stress. Example number 2, in the Handbook of Religion and Health, edited by Harold Koenig, Michael McCullough, and